Good morning. It's Monday, February 21st, and you're looking at a live view of Falcon 9 as it awaits its 9:44 a.m. Eastern Time launch from Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. My name is Jesse Anderson. I'm joining you today right next to SpaceX Mission Control from our headquarters in Hawthorne, California. I'm excited to be here to guide you through our 38th overall Starlink launch this morning. As a quick reminder, Starlink is a satellite internet constellation designed and manufactured by SpaceX. Starlink can provide high-speed, low-latency internet to people living in remote and rural locations around the globe. Our launch today will be taking 46 Starlink satellites into low Earth orbit, or also referred to as LEO. Similar to our previous Starlink launches this year, we will be launching to a southbound trajectory to take advantage of better recovery weather for our first stage during the winter months when the seas in the north can be a bit rough. Now, additionally, we won't have ground station coverage of payload deploy, which means we won't have live audio or visual confirmation of payload deployment in real time. Because of this, we will end our webcast just after second stage.
Cześć, witam wszystkich fanów Nocnego Nieba. W poniedziałkowe popołudnie, oczywiście czasu polskiego, startuje kolejna misja Starlink oznaczona numerem G4-8. Na orbitę wyniesiona będzie kolejna seria satelitów telekomunikacyjnych od firmy SpaceX. No i to, co nas najbardziej interesuje, to to, że przeloty już od jutra rana można oglądać nad Polską. Przeloty będą przez kilka dni. Spodziewamy się, że te pierwsze 3 dni powinny być dobrze widoczne. Oczywiście spodziewamy się, jak to będzie. Okaże się najwcześniej jutro. Pierwszy przelot o godzinie 5:04. Za momencik do Was wracam.
Is a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket. Depending on the device that you're using to watch the webcast today, the rocket on your screen may not look very substantial, but in fact, our two-stage rocket stands 70 meters tall, which makes it almost as tall as the Statue of Liberty, about 3/4 of the 93-meter monument.
Start za 12 minut, tabelka była zasłonięta, także jeszcze na chwilę puszczę to moją, ale 12 minut do startu.
Which is about 50 meters tall. Starting from the bottom, we have the first stage, also referred to as the booster, which makes up over about 60% of the entire length of the Falcon 9 vehicle. The dark soot that you see around the lower part of the first stage are remnants from its previous launches. This particular booster has supported 10 previous missions, 5 previous Starlink missions, K-Milsat, CRS-21.
Mniej więcej o tych samych godzinach. Pierwszy dzień, z tego co pamiętam, 5:04, drugi dzień 5:20 i kolejny też około 20 minut później, czyli około 5:40, ale dokładnie omówimy to sobie wieczorem. Wieczorem się połączymy ponownie i będziemy analizowali przeloty dla miast w Polsce.
Today's payload is going into low Earth orbit, or LEO. Although there is no universal standard, LEO typically refers to orbits that are less than 2,000 to 2,400 kilometers in altitude. Depending on the velocity, at a 2,000 kilometer circular orbit, an object in LEO can make a little over 11 orbits a day, almost a sunrise and a sunset every hour. Now, in addition to our Starlink constellation, the International Space Station and Hubble Space Telescope are both currently traveling in low Earth orbit. Now, moving up on the vehicle, we have the interstage. As you can see on your screen, the black carbon fiber interstage is a distinct black color because it is unpainted TPS, or thermal protection system. The interstage is mated to the Falcon 9 tanks in Hawthorne, typically stays mated until launch. Now, although this composite structure is officially part of the first stage, it connects to the first and second stages, as well as houses pneumatic pushers that allow stage separation during flight. The interstage also houses the Merlin vacuum engine, or MVAC engine, and though very similar to the Merlin 1D engines on the first stage, the MVAC engine has a larger nozzle that allows the second stage to perform better in the vacuum of space. It gives us a more efficient rocket engine that gets us better performance. Now, as you can see on your screen, the white portion of Falcon 9 above the black interstage is the second stage. After the first and second stages separate about 2.5 minutes into flight, the second stage will ignite its MVAC engine to carry the payload to its desired orbit. Following separation from the second stage, we will be attempting to recover the first stage for an 11th time on our drone ship, a shortfall of gravitas, which you can see a live view from right there with the blue skies in the background. If successful, it will mark the 100th recovery of a Falcon 9 first stage and our 107th if you include Falcon Heavy. Above the second stage is the payload fairing. That's what you're seeing on your screen. That nose cone structure at the very top of the rocket protects the Starlink satellites until we reach space. Around 3 minutes into flight, once we've exited Earth's atmosphere, we will jettison the fairing halves and attempt to retrieve them once they return back to Earth. Now, we want to jettison the fairing halves as soon as we can, as the weight of the fairing decreases second stage performance. The fairing halves protecting our Starlink satellites today are flying for the third time.
Trochę ponad 8 minut do startu. No jestem ciekaw, czy dzisiaj SpaceX pokaże całą transmisję aż do momentu umieszczenia Starlinków na orbicie, bo niestety chyba przynajmniej 3 albo nawet 4 ostatnie misje kończyły się zaraz po wylądowaniu boostera i przerywali transmisję. Ciekawe dlaczego w ogóle. 8 minut do startu.
Our Falcon 9 vehicle uses two propellants, a refined form of kerosene called RP-1 or rocket propellant 1 as the fuel and LOX or liquid oxygen as an oxidizer. An oxidizer is a substance that a fuel requires in order to burn. The liquid oxygen is chilled well below its boiling point so that it has a much greater amount of mass per volume, basically so that we can load more of it into the rocket. In addition to these two propellants, we also use the chemical TTEB, or triethyl aluminum, and triethyl borane as the ignition source. Now, the combustion of RP-1 and LOX make the rocket go or fly, but it's the TTEB that sets the match to the propellant mix. Now, it's just like a barbecue with charcoal and the oxygen air around it. Until you light a match to it, you won't have the flame to cook your food, or for our purposes, there's no liftoff. Now we fill the liquid oxygen into the first and second stages to full as close to T0 as possible to minimize how long the liquid oxygen could start to warm up. Now this is similar to fueling your combustion car. You put the handle in, turn it on, and when it's full, the pump shuts off.
Engine chill.
The latest weather forecast from Space Launch Delta 45 shows that we are 90% favorable for liftoff today. And as you can see on your screen, we've got some great blue skies over there in Florida. The vehicle, satellites, and range are all looking good for an on-time liftoff just a few minutes from now at 9:44 a.m. Eastern Time.
Cześć Ludmiła. Adimus pyta, czy będę kiedyś miał internet od Starlink. Nie planuję, nie potrzebuję. W miejscu, w którym mieszkam, mam bardzo szybki internet światłowodowy, a jeżeli się przemieszczam, to korzystam z LTE. Nie planuję, bo to jest bardzo drogi internet. Nie wiem, czy słyszeliście, w ogóle wersja premium Starlinków została chyba udostępniona już, gdzie otrzymuje się bardzo wysoką prędkość, ale trzeba za to płacić lekko około $500 co miesiąc. Także poza tym, że to jest drogi internet, to może być jeszcze o wiele droższy niż dotychczas. No i antenę chyba trzeba mieć nawet lepszą. Za antenę też chyba trzeba z $2000 zapłacić.
Never fear, the full presentation is now available for viewing on our YouTube channel.
Nie wiem, to twoja indywidualna sprawa tak naprawdę. Zależy od tego, gdzie mieszkasz. Żeby mieć naprawdę szybki internet, tam trzeba kupę forsy zapłacić, tak jak przed chwilą powiedziałem. Już mają takie dwa pakiety, nie? Podstawowy, który jest drogi i ten maksymalny, który $500 co miesiąc kosztuje.
The first mission, Polaris Dawn, is targeted to launch no earlier than the fourth quarter of 2022 from historic Launch Complex 39A at NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida.
Tak, ten ostatni nieudany start.
Civilian spacewalk.
Znaczy start był udany, ale misja w sumie cała była nieudana, bo kilka dni po starcie satelity spłonęły w atmosferze i tak jest to wynik rozbłysków na Słońcu. Powstał wiatr słoneczny, on zaczął przemieszczać się w kierunku Ziemi, dotarł do Ziemi i klasycznie, poza tym, że powstały piękne zorze polarne, to podgrzała się trochę atmosfera, te wyższe partie atmosfery, bo mimo tego, że to jest na wysokości około 300 km, to jakieś tam resztkowa atmosfera tam jest. Ona nieco się podgrzała, zgęstniała, przez to satelity niestety nie dały rady wznieść się wyżej. Przeszły w taki tryb awaryjny tak zwany i niestety z niego już nie wyszły. Zaczęły swobodnie opadać, w końcu spadły i spaliły się w atmosferze i wiem, że są fajne nagrania. Nie pamiętam, czy to w Porto chyba. Bardzo ładnie było widać, jak spłonęły w atmosferze.
Then at T0, it will clear the way even more as the vehicle lifts off. Now, TE is a structure that provides liquids, gases, and electrical connections to the second stage, as well as air conditioning to the payload fairing. And at this point, the first and second...
Adimus nie sądzę, żeby dotknęła Słońca. Wydaje mi się, że ona się zbliżyła na taką bezpieczną odległość i było to po prostu największe zbliżenie, jakie do tej pory udało się człowiekowi zrobić, ale nie sądzę, żeby dotknęła. Cześć, Koperson.
Now, when that gas exits the vehicle into the warmer Florida air, the humid air condenses into clouds. Similar.
Stage 1 LOX load complete.
Pretty similar to when you have a cold glass of water and condensation forms around it. And we also just heard the call out for the first stage LOX loading complete. Next up will be second stage at about T-2.
Coraz więcej nas, dla przypomnienia, oglądamy start misji Starlink oznaczony numerem G4-8. Kolejna misja po tej nieudanej. Spodziewamy się, że na orbicie tym razem satelity zostaną poprawnie umieszczone, że osiągną swoje docelowe orbity. A jak to się będzie działo, to przy okazji mam nadzieję, że będą fajne spektakle na niebie, ponieważ już od jutra od godziny 5:04 rano będzie można oglądać pierwszy przelot Starlink. Przeloty będą bardzo wysoko na niebie. To znaczy, że jakby będzie sprzyjała ta trajektoria obserwacji. Powinny być bardzo dobrze widoczne, tylko żeby pogoda dopisała. Kochani, 2 minuty do startu. Ja za momencik do Was wracam.
Just waiting for that call out for LOX load on second stage.
Stage 2 LOX load complete.
There it is. Now both first and second stage are fully loaded with propellant. The Starlink payload continues to be healthy, and the Falcon 9 team is tracking no issues on the vehicle. Weather is still looking amazing, and you can see the blue skies there on your screen. And the range is green for launch. Now, as I mentioned, you can see the white clouds coming from the transporter erector. Again, that is the liquid oxygen that we are venting out, clearing those lines on the transporter erector.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
And there's that call out that the Falcon 9's computers have taken over the launch countdown, just waiting for the final go from the launch director.
LD, go for launch.
And all systems are now go for launch. So let's listen into the terminal count and watch as Falcon 9 takes our 46 Starlink satellites to space.
T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 15. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Engines full power. Lift off. Starlink 4-8.
Vehicle switching downrange.
M1D chamber pressure is nominal.
Falcon 9 has successfully lifted off from Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station,
Power and telemetry nominal.
carrying our stack of 46 Starlink satellites to low Earth orbit. Now, moments ago, we throttled down the engines, reducing the speed by decreasing the flow of fuel to the engine. That's in preparation for max Q, or maximum aerodynamic
Vehicle is
pressure.
supersonic.
And we are coming up.
Simus są niezadowoleni, ale no nic z tym niestety nie zrobimy. No. Ileś tysięcy ich już jest w kosmosie, będzie jeszcze więcej. Nie sądzę, żeby ktokolwiek to zblokował, więc trzeba raczej się z tym
Now, we do
pogodzić.
have 4 events coming up in quick succession. The first will be main engine cutoff, or MECO, stage separation, second engine start 1, or SES-1, and then fairing deploy. So main engine cutoff is where all 9
Przeloty będą wcześniej rano nad Polską, jutro o godzinie 5:04.
down
Pierwszy
in
przelot.
preparation for the next event, which is stage separation. And that is where the first stage separates from the second stage. Right after stage separation, the first stage will start making its way back to Earth for landing.
12 tysięcy ma być, a słyszałem, że starają się o licencję nawet, żeby 30 tysięcy było. I wtedy już będą wykorzystywali Starshipy do wynoszenia, nie? No bo takiej ilości, żeby w rozsądnym czasie wynieść na orbitę, to już tylko czymś większym.
A shortfall of gravitas. Now, while this is happening, stage 2 will continue on its journey with the third event, which is SES-1, or second stage engine start 1. That's where the MVAC engine lights up and propels the second stage along with the Starlink satellites to orbit. And just a few seconds after that, we'll have fairing deploy.
MECO.
Stage separation confirmed.
MVAC ignition.
Chiny dołączą, ale słyszałem, że skromnie, że tam na początek przynajmniej ledwo 1000 ma być. Nie wiem, jak oni to planują zrealizować, ale na pewno mniej. Co do tych Starlinków od SpaceX, 43 tysiące. Wiesz co, myślę, że to jest suma, że to jest te 30 tysięcy z drugiej licencji, o którą się starają, i ta pierwsza, która zakłada 12-13 tysięcy. No to będzie akurat, nie? 43.
Confirmations mean that we have successfully deployed our fairing halves. SpaceX has reflown Falcon fairing halves since 2019, and the fairing halves flying on today's mission are flying for the third time. Improvements on the fairing and our overall refurbishment process has decreased the impact of water landings and led to an overall fairing recovery rate of 93% over the last 14 missions. Of 109 fairing missions, 73 have been recovered and 32 missions have flown recovered fairing halves. And again, we will be attempting to recover the halves again today using our recovery vessel, Doug. Some great views here as stage 2 heads towards its targeted drop-off orbit. Stage 1 will complete 2 burns in order to make its way back to Earth. The first is the entry burn, where 3 of those 9 M1D engines will reignite. That helps to slow the stage down as it re-enters back into the upper parts of the Earth's atmosphere.
Acquisition signal, Bermuda.
Then the second burn for the first stage is the landing burn. This is a single engine burn, the center E9 engine, and that brings the vehicle speed down rapidly in order to land on the drone ship. Stage 2 is still looking good on a nominal trajectory. On your left-hand screen, you can see those grid fins on the first stage, helping to guide the vehicle back to its landing zone. Now, if you're just now joining us, we've had a successful liftoff of Falcon 9 from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, Slick 40 today. Right now, you're looking at a live view of Falcon 9's second stage on the right-hand screen. And that was just a call out for a nominal trajectory on second stage. Stage 1 is currently making its way back to our drone ship, a short fall of gravitas. And today is the 38th launch of Starlink satellites overall, the 7th mission of 2022, 4th Starlink mission of 2022, and the 145th total overall SpaceX launch. We're just about a minute away from the entry burn start on the first stage. The Merlin engines on the first stage are optimized for sea level. These achieve 190,000 pounds of thrust during ascent. That's when we lift off or fly towards space, and descent, and that's when we come back down to Earth. Now, the MVAC engine is optimized for 220,500 pounds of thrust in vacuum, and that's what you're seeing on your right-hand screen. You can see those grid fins on your left-hand screen on the first stage. Falcon 9 is equipped with 4 hypersonic grid fins positioned near the top of the first stage. And stage 1 is using nothing but the grid fins for steering as it makes its way, as it makes its return back to Earth. That is until we light the center E9 engine. Then we can gimbal the engine to help guide the stage as it lands. Again, we're coming up on that entry burn here in a few seconds.
Stage 1 FTS has saved.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
We heard the call out, and you can visually see that
Stage 2 FTS has saved.
You can visually see that the entry burn has begun on the first stage.
Stage 2 continues to follow nominal trajectory.
Great call outs on stage 2. Entry burn.
Stage 1 entry burn shut down.
There it is. It's just a 20-second burn, and as you can see and heard, the entry burn has concluded. Next up will be the landing burn, and that'll be the final burn for the first stage as it returns back to Earth. Now, for those of you who follow along, you'll know that the soot on the rocket indicates it's been flown before. The rocket-grade kerosene, RP1, used to fuel a Falcon 9 is carbon-based, so when it burns, it generates that soot. And as you just saw with the entry burn, the Falcon 9 vehicle flies through its plume, and that's how it generates the soot onto the vehicle. We are just about 20 seconds or so away from that landing burn beginning on the first stage, and as we touch down, we will also have SECO 1, or second stage engine cutoff 1, on second stage. So we should hear some call-outs for that as we are landing on a shortfall of gravitas today.
Stage 1 landing burn. Stage 1 leg deploy. Stage 1 landing confirmed.
Seco 1.
And great news, we heard that Falcon 9 has landed, touchdown on a shortfall of gravitas. We also heard, there it is on your screen, incredible view of the vehicle standing
Nominal
tall.
orbit insertion.
And we also had SECO 1 as well as that call out right there. Let us know that we had a good orbit. Great news overall. We are now awaiting the deployment of our 46 Starlink satellites, which is scheduled to occur about an hour from now. Now, as I mentioned before, we won't have live audio or visual confirmation of payload deployment due to lack of ground station coverage. We will regain signal with our ground station at T plus 1 hour and 19 minutes. So for those of you who are interested, we will keep the audio-only countdown nets up on our YouTube channel, and we'll confirm successful payload deployment on our social channels. So that will bring our webcast to a close today.
Also signal Cape and Bermuda.
Our team at SpaceX would like to send a big thank you to the Range and Federal Aviation Administration for supporting our mission. Of course, thank you to all of you, our viewers, and all of our Starlink customers using our service at this time. And if you're interested in signing up for Starlink service, head over to starlink.com. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again soon. System. The inner stage has made it to the Falcon 9 tanks in Hawthorne.
T-minus 30 seconds.
No i kolejny raz niestety SpaceX nie dotrwało do momentu, kiedy umieszczono satelity na orbicie. Kolejny raz nam ucinają transmisję. Cofnąłem streama do momentu startu, żeby tylko jeszcze przez około minutkę z Wami podsumować to, co będzie jutro się działo. Mamy jutro przeloty, od jutra przeloty nad Polską. We wtorek pierwszy o 5:05 wysoko na niebie, prawie że w zenicie, bardzo dobrze widoczne z terytorium całej Polski. Trzymać kciuki za pogodę, bo to jest najważniejsze w tej chwili. Najważniejszy jakby warunek do spełnienia tego, żeby dobrze oglądać je na niebie, bo trajektoria jest idealna. Koperson pisze, ucinają i deploya na Twittera wrzucają. No, tak, możliwe, że tak jest, nawet nie wiedziałem. Choć te kilkanaście minut mogli poczekać, bo chyba aż tak późno by ten deploy nie był. Nie wiem, czy zauważyliście mapkę, mamy znowu trajektorię taką polarną, czyli będą nam satelity przelatywać nad biegunami. Co jeszcze? W środę kolejny przelot i tam chyba już koło 5:20. Ja zapraszam Was dzisiaj na okolice godziny 21:00. Będziemy omawiali dokładnie przeloty nad większymi miastami w Polsce. Także za dzisiaj bardzo Wam dziękuję i do usłyszenia wieczorem. Cześć.
So main engine cutoff is where all 9 of the M1D engines